like your jacket.
Wear it a little early for Christmas, but
No, it never too early. Thanksgiving's over. It's Christmas time.
Derek, I know we've asked you about the red zone narrative a lot, and those stats have kind of followed you, and some of it's circumstantial, but when it happens, the sample size is pretty big right now. I mean, do you like really try to identify what is it about that area of the field?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we spend our time, in the building talking about. That's why we spend extra time on it this week. The fact of the matter is, it doesn't change. I always tell you the truth. We're moving the ball down there if we don't, have the 2 turnovers or the penalties. We're running good plays and we're moving the ball. We don't have a problem moving it, but when we get down there, we've had games where we've done really well and we've had games where it's been really bad. And so I think the biggest thing is the inconsistency. It's not that we can't do it. It's just, why is it inconsistent? And we have answers. Everyone wants to hear the answers, but we just don't, we keep them in-house.
I know you hate statistics and stuff like this, but I mean, there are some stats over the last couple of years where you're like ranked 36 out of 36 quarterbacks inside the 15. I mean, you might think that doesn't tell the whole story, but when you see things like that, does it like keep you awake? Like, this shouldn't make sense. Why can't I fix this one area of my game?
No, because this is a team game, and I don't see things like that because I don't pay attention to things like that, and so. It's something that we're working on, and everyone wants an answer or has an answer for us, but we're going to keep working on it in here.
Is there something that makes it harder to play quarterback?
No.
Besides the obvious tight space in that area?
No. It takes all 11 guys doing the right thing at the same time, and that's it.
How do you evaluate how you played so far this year?
We're 5-6 as a team. And that is what I based everything on. And so, for me, that's the only thing that matters. And so, to give myself a grade, really doesn't matter. If anyone else wants to give me a grade, it really doesn't matter. We know what we've seen on tape. We know, what my grade is when I get my sheet from my coaches, and if I'm doing my job or if I'm not doing my job. And that's the stuff that matters.
What is the grade?
I mean, that's why we keep them in-house, and that's why we do those things. The coaches can tell you, I don't have any problem with them telling you how I've been doing, but I don't put their business, I don't put our business, team business out like that.
You said you guys got the answers for the red zone. Like, what's it going to take to see it consistently on the field? If you don't want to share what it is, what's it take to see it?
I said that we're working on the answers. That's what we've been doing, and so I appreciate everyone wanting to have or us to just say everything we've been feeling and say everything that we've seen on tape and say all the coaching points and all those things, but I'll never do that. And so I know it's just on me to keep doing it. And for whoever they want to point at, please point at me because I can handle it.
Jared, what's the just initial impressions of this Lions defense going into this Sunday?
Well, they're really good. They play hard. They got really good front. Really good front seven, I should say. Secondary plays well together, and the things that Coach Aaron Glenn is asking them to do. And I've known him since I was running routes on him since I was 13 years old after practices. And he's always been a smart guy. None of my routes worked against him when I was a kid. So he does a good job of coaching those guys and understanding how to change certain things and little tweaks of their system and little tweaks of their scheme to try and win that week. And so they're doing a fantastic job, obviously, with their record and all those kind of things. So again, it'll be another tough week for us.
For this offense, I know you guys want to get off to faster starts, and I think the opening drives this year, no touchdowns have been scored yet. I know that's probably another area of concern that you guys are trying to figure out and fix. Do you think that would help some stuff if you can just get off to faster starts and just get things rolling, so maybe you're not worried about trying to play catch up or worried about trying to execute as much in the red zone? Are fast starts probably critical as well for you guys? Yeah,
that's always every building I've ever been in. You preach starting fast. With Coach Gruden, it was always start the period fast. Which means start it with a good run, start with a good completion, all those things. And so, every building I've ever been in, that's always been an emphasis, and it still is an emphasis here. Some things, every football team's going to do a lot of things really well, and sometimes you're going to have things you got to get better at. And that's one area also that for us has been a problem, that we haven't, gotten, would you say, a touchdown, on those drives. You do that, it helps, helps everybody. Helps the play caller, it helps the defense, it helps us as an offense. Your confidence, you feel great, instead of, trying to figure it out and come from behind or, score the second drive or the third drive. It's the games you start fast, usually, the whole game just feels more confident for sure for everybody.
Hey, Derek, some other guys behind Rashid and Chris, they don't have a lot of NFL production, but they have NFL experience. I'm wondering how that can kind of help in maybe a transition like this if they have to step in.
Yeah, so the one thing that is always big to me is like how, what are they like on the football field at game time? What is their demeanor like? Are they loud out here at practice, and then when we get in there and they're in a shell, all that stuff. You try and pay attention to all those things. And the thing I can say about these guys, they're all competitive. And when you have competitive guys and you have guys with experience, you can usually rely on those guys. Maybe there's, if they have bounced around, maybe there's one or two things that, maybe they're a specialty kind of guy and they have a role and that kind of stuff. And, when you give them more, it's a great opportunity to see what they can do. I don't know everybody's situation, but from what I've seen, what we're asking them to do, you see that competitiveness, and when you see that, you can trust them in the game to hopefully do the right thing.
Derek, are there still things you guys are trying to do to get on the same page, you and the receivers? Is that still an ongoing process?
I'm sorry, who?
Just like there's a throw to Rashid that was like, a little like timing stuff in that? Is that still a work in progress?
No, I just missed the throw. Like that one to Sheed I missed, but timing wise, Chris had, what do you have, 120 yards? He's on, and there was more opportunity out there for him to have an even bigger day, and then we would have been like, oh, that's great. Well, what's wrong with this? We're always looking at things that are wrong, and we're trying to solve those problems in our building. I worked on 10 things that I had for myself that I was like, you know what? I've been doing this well, but let's iron this out. Let's do this better. Let's do that. Just like everyone in that building is doing that. We're doing it all before 20 minutes before practice even starts, before we've been asked to do anything. And we're working those things, from the last game, things that we're going to need to do this game that are going to pop up that are different maybe than what we're used to. And so we're always working on those. But, there's things that we've done really well chemistry-wise. There's some things that I've, been really impressed when I've asked them to be in a certain place and I throw it super early and they're there. And then that one I just missed behind them. Like that's going to happen. And never want it to happen, but it happens.
Are you throwing the ball low to Shaheed to avoid him on the goal line on the second drive, to avoid him getting
by the safety? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, trying to keep him.
Yeah, I've always been taught low on the front half, high on the back half. I'm talking the end zone.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of the mindset of this team right now, just coming off the Boston work week. Do you like where they're at mentally right now?
It's not as sad as it is out here. I can promise you that. We are super positive. Practice was great. The meetings have been great. You can feel the frustration, but in a good way, in a way like, all right, well, this is what I need to do. Everyone is laid out, every coach telling every guy, this is what you got to do this week to help us win and all this kind of stuff. And everyone knows their responsibility, and you saw a lot of guys doing those things today. And so, again, it hasn't been what we wanted it to be up to this point, but we still got time.
What are some of the things you're most encouraged about that have happened even while the loss in the last 2 months?
I would say like the last, I'm not good on the week number, 6-7 weeks. Again, forgive me if I'm wrong on that number, but we like offensively, we've moved the ball so well, at times. Like we're doing some things against defenses that other teams have really struggled to do against certain defenses, and those are offenses that people love, and so we are still confident that let's keep doing that. Let's do what we've been talking about down here. I think third down improved. That was another area we had to improve. I thought we improved there. And so I see us getting better. I was in the same building for 9 years, and I can promise you at the beginning I was answering the same questions. That's that's why when I'm older, I'm maybe a little bit more frustrated, with it. And when you're younger, you're like, oh, I still got all that time, And now you're just like, you get more frustrated. But I promised you guys, and I promised my team that I was going to be super positive about everything and keep going in the right direction, because I know feeling sorry about it and not working at it that it's going to lead to the same results. And
you're saying you get frustrated with the results. And you're trying to.
Oh, absolutely. I get very frustrated.
Yeah.
I wear everything on my sleeve usually, and I've just been trying to be better at that, because everyone's trying to do the right thing. It just hasn't worked out. We actually all took turns, this last game, and you're like, golly, usually you have one or two, but it's like when we all take turns, it looks like the way it did, and we feel like the way we do.
How do you weigh that though? Like when you guys are moving the ball, but you aren't moving it in the last 20. Like how do you marry those two thoughts together?
I don't know, man. You got to ask Coach Pete and DA, myself. When you ask us, we're not going to be able to give you all the answers that everyone wants to hear on the things we're trying to work to do better, schematics and player and all those kind of things. And so you're going to keep asking the same question. I'm going to keep giving a lot of words and no answer, because I'm not going to tell you.
Hey, Derek, you haven't thrown a touchdown pass in a couple of weeks, and you went through a similar stretch in 2018. Was there anything you were able to do back then to kind of break yourself out of that rut?
I mean, I'm just going to keep working hard. That's really it. I've had games where you throw 4 touchdowns. You had games where you throw none. One of those games I was hurt to in the second half. So I understand that, though. But,
right.
That stuff happens. And, I've had games or years where you throw a lot of touchdowns, years where you don't throw as many as you want. And when you lose, you talk about that stuff. And when you win, no one talks about it. And so it's just part of the business. And it goes like that sometimes. I can promise you it's not from a lack of effort or studying or trying on the football field.
There's been a lot of conversation about the identity, quote unquote, of this team. And when you hear that conversation, what is your kind of response to that idea? And what does identity mean in the frame of the football team?
I gotta be honest. For me, I haven't heard anything. I don't know what anybody did or said. I'm sorry for that. But for me, I would say, on offense, the things that we emphasize are being explosive and physical up front. Be physical up there, and then get the ball in the guy's hands, let them be explosive. And defensively, they have probably their own things too. But personally, I'm sorry. If someone says something, I don't know. But yeah.
Alvin was talking about it after the game.
Gotcha.
But so when you kind of look at that and you say, okay, these are our core beliefs, and this is what we do well, and this is what we want to focus on. How important is that to kind of be able to hone in on as an offense and just kind of say, okay, this is our calling card, and this is what we do. The Falcons, for example, they're a running offense. They're going to run the ball.
Yep. Whereas
at times for the Saints offense, it does seem like, okay, what is it that this team does well?
Yeah.
So how important is that to kind of identify?
Yeah. So in that context, to me that makes sense. You want to know, going into the game, this is how we're going to attack, and this is what we do. And they know it, we know it, but we just got it. This is what we got to do. And so that's very important. Making sure that you have that. What makes it hard on coaches sometimes, a lot of moving parts, different things, schematics, matchup, game plan, all that kind of stuff. It makes it tough sometimes. That's just speaking in general terms, not just here. That's just, I've been on teams where this is what we're going to do. And then you're playing a team that says no, you're not. And there's things they can do to make it that way. And so schematically that can be tough on coaches to do just one thing, over and over again. But for sure, there's things that we talk about, this is what we need to do this week. And sometimes those things change, based on the game plan.
Has that been one of the bigger challenges for the first 3 months of the season, is finding what works consistently for you?
I would say early on, for sure, for us. I feel like if we get if we fix that, red zone, getting touchdowns and things like that, man, the whole thing would feel complete 180. Everyone would feel completely different. And so right now, our focus is to continue to do those main things that we talked about, being explosive, being physical and violent up front. And then when we get down here, man, just have that mentality. Carry that mentality over where everyone does their job. And if everyone does their job, it works, And we've proved to ourselves this year, when everyone does their job, it works. And so, absolutely.
I was just going to ask, you referenced not as sad out here or in there as it is out here. When you're like in the community, are people uplifting or are they kind of like awkward, like how about the weather talking to you, you know, because they don't want to talk about it?
Everybody's been cool to me. Everyone's been great, you know, like even if they weren't, like they can't put me in a bad mood. You know, like I'm gonna give this all that I have, and you know, out in the community, like just the people I've been around so far, like everybody's been cool, you know, more so, you know, asking about, they want to know other things about other players for their fantasy teams. That's some of the stuff I get. Hey, so who we featuring this week and all that, but I don't give that stuff out. So I know I don't give you all the answers you want. I can't give them the answers either.
That'd be insider trading.
That would not be good. Yes. Good.
Cool.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
That was when David was on the